a fund, a European fund, which the Irish government didn't bother, an energy fund that we didn't bother to apply for. What's the crack with this?
Yeah, so like it's crazy, really. I think like in the context of where we are with energy in general, and we're talking about energy costs, and we're talking about energy supply, and we're talking about type of energy that we have and whether they impact on the environment or not. So the Irish government here has missed an opportunity which is compatible with our green energy initiative, to receive substantial EU funding, as I say, at a time of energy and cost living crisis. The Irish energy crisis is exacerbated by the closure of fossil fuel generating stations to come into line with the same green energy programme. TD Michael McNamara has questioned the Taoiseach on the matter, so if you want to roll that.
Yeah.
Taoiseach, you've always maintained that the causes of the energy crisis are international, and therefore the solutions will have to be international, or at least pan-national. In that context, Taoiseach, I was very surprised to read that Ireland was one of only 2 countries that didn't apply for funding under the EU's Repowering EU scheme, which was particularly heralded by the biomethane sector in Ireland, which obviously has the potential to have further benefits across the agricultural sector. I presume you too would have questioned why Ireland didn't apply, and can you share with the Dáil what reply you would have received from the department as to why the scheme was not applied for?
Well, my understanding, again, I think it's not as simple as Ireland not applying. I think some of that funding was already under the recovery and resilience plans that each member state would have submitted, and in our recovery and resilience plan we would have made submissions in respect of energy, particularly in terms of public buildings. We had specific projects on the recovery and resilience that we submitted and that we'll be refunding in terms of a 100% sort of energy building of the future within the public service. So measures have been applied for in that respect, but I'll get the full details for you from the Minister Eamon Ryan in respect of that.
So I don't think he really answered the question there, and it'd be interesting to see what Eamon Ryan comes back with. Ireland is one of only 2 countries in the EU to fail to apply. As we say, the Irish Examiner report placed the EU fund at 210 billion, of which the biomethane section of the Repower EU has a budget of 35 billion alone. It states that Ireland's potential funding from that would have been estimated at 800 million and a further 1.3 billion in future supports. So with Ireland continuing to remain dependent on importing energy, another indigenous source remains untapped for development. It just seems crazy, doesn't it?
I don't know, is it just stupidity that they literally didn't know about it or forgot about it? Or on the other hand, is it that they're such lickspittles to the EU that they don't want to look like they're taking anything from the EU, looking like the perfect little pupil or the perfect little student. Ryan, you mentioned Eamon Ryan, who's the leader of the Green Party in Ireland there, and that he's going to consult Eamon Ryan with regard to the answer to these questions. Minister Eamon Ryan seeks emergency powers to take control of oil supply, and that's going through the houses of the Oireachtas as we speak. And this is where the Minister Eamon Ryan, who's dedicated his life, his raison d'etre, to getting rid of oil, and he's being given emergency powers to take control of our oil supply. Is that not just a little bit worrying, Padraig?
100% it is. Every time you hear the words emergency powers, you have to think, what does that mean? It means that your constitutional rights are going to be infringed upon, because that's what emergency powers employ. I think the first emergency powers, I think in a state of war during World War II, there was an emergency then, and I think then there was an emergency in tuberculosis, going way back 1940s maybe, and then the next one would have been the COVID emergency, and now straight away we're looking for an emergency on energy. So what's the next emergency? Should we do away with the Constitution altogether is the question.
They love their emergencies these days. It's like crisis management. You can get away with anything in a crisis, can't you? So that seems to be what they're doing. And it's actually very, very ancient form of trickery. Creates a bit of chaos over there, and you can do whatever you want over there. And that seems to be what they're doing. It's like cheap underhand trickery from rogues on the street who are pickpocketing. And that's essentially what they're doing on a massive scale.